Hi, I'm Rob Cosman. Welcome to my shop. I'm normally yapping to you about hand tools, so this is going to be a little bit of a departure from my norm. Talk to you about power tools. I consider bandsaw to be number 3. First you have your table saw, then your jointer, bandsaw comes next, and I've had lots of them. I think I started with a little 10-inch Beaver Rockwell. Then I graduated to a 15-inch Walker Turner. Then I bought my big 18-inch Laguna. Went from that to this one that I just bought. Actually, I've got two. I've had a Jet 14-inch, and I've got two General Canadians downstairs. But I bought this Poitra 24-inch and love the capacity. Very simple machine, but dust collection on it is almost non-existent. If you look, unlike most bandsaws, they're totally enclosed. Well, this is open completely on the back side. You've got covers providing you with some protection from the blade and the spinning wheels on this side, but nothing on the back side. So I had to figure it away. And dust collecting is not the most interesting thing to be doing when you're setting up your shop, but it's critical because if you don't do it, you're going to hate being in there. And this stuff throws fine dust all over the place. So you got to control it. Now the biggest problem is we bandsaw, we use a bimetal blade to cut up this stuff called swanstone that we make our composite handles out of. And it's gotten to the point where it makes me sick, the very smell of it. So I'd have to wear a respirator whenever Dave was using the machine. Anyway, so I went to work on this. Now I have no training at all in fluid mechanics. Anything I've learned by the seat of my pants and just trial and error. But if you look down underneath here, I'll show you what I did. And this is very much this was the experiment, and it worked so well I left it. But I'll walk you through how I made it, and we'll make a permanent one. I took a piece of 1.5 inch PVC pipe, and if you come over here a little bit, dust collection, from what I can figure, is all about velocity. The faster the air moves, the better it's going to be at picking up particulate and getting rid of it. So if you've got a large hose or a large port, and my Laguna had a big large port down the bottom, and I could never get enough enough velocity in the air to do much. So it would fill up and it would be all through the room. In fact, we had to put a separate hose up in here from the vacuum to try to control it. So here's what I did. Took a piece of 1.5 inch PVC pipe, cut a hole in the top of it about 1 inch in diameter, cut a slot down through the front so that the blade would run in there. There was a kind of a half, if you look at this shape right here, where it's round, part of the casting, I had one right there as well. So I took a piece of pine, I cut part of that outside diameter of the pipe, enough to screw it in place. I simply duct taped the cap on one end. This is all experimental, just to see if this was going to work. And instead of drilling and tapping some holes in here to screw it in, I just used some double-sided tape. Now it's been on there for 3 or 4 months, and it's still there, and it's good and solid, so I haven't changed it. Jake, hand me that vacuum hose, would you please? I had to put some duct tape on the end of the vacuum hose to get it to fit, but again, all experimental. So stick that in there. That's actually the little rubber connector that you use in order to attach this fine vacuum cleaner. That's not describing it, that's the actual brand name, but it is a great machine. Well, sometimes that fits. Would be nice to get it to go in there. There it is. Stick the vacuum on the end. Turn that on, please. And you get lots of velocity. Dave would be in here cutting up a sheet of this, would be 16 of these things, and I couldn't even smell it in the shop. You can shut it off now. Works fantastic. So, and when we're done, or when he's done, open it up and there's no dust laying in here. It's incredible the way it picks it up. So let me walk it up. We're going to go over and I'll show you how I made that. Also, before I do that, I'm going to take you downstairs. I'm going to show you the one that I put on my general bandsaw, because every bandsaw is going to be different and you're going to have to modify it. But give it a little bit of thought. The principle is a piece of pipe that the blade passes through. Now I will mention that this, if I was to tilt this table, and almost all bandsaw tables are designed to tilt X number of degrees to the right and to the left, and that would have to come off. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't, I don't know. I never tilt my table anyway. But if that would be the one drawback. Anyway, let me take you downstairs and I'll show you the one we have in the general. Now, this is a smaller machine, but same principle. If you look underneath here, I took a piece of, this one is a little more permanent. I took a piece of vacuum hose, that's the narrow stuff. I turned on the lathe a plug that filled this back end about 2 inches and cemented it in place and then cut it off flat so that I could bore a hole from, which I can open this, so I could bore a hole up through that, and there was an already, actually I think I bored a hole in this cast iron frame as well and put one bolt and nut in there, and that holds the whole thing in place. Now I've got this relatively clean inside, so I'm going to go and I'll hook this up. I've got a bird's eye maple handle. I'm not going to film all this, but what we'll do is we'll go through, I'll cut all that up and then open the machine up and just show you how clean it is. This one, same idea. Got a little adapter that I have to use in order to run one to the other, but that just sits in there like that and does a great job of sucking it up. So, turn the camera back on when I've done this and we'll check and see what we've got. Okay, cut that off. So you see what we have for dust on the table. Now let's look inside and see what we have. Can you say nothing? There's no dust accumulated in there to speak of. I had that in the same little small amount when I started. So it does an exceptional job. Like I said, it's going to interfere. Actually, I should try it right now while I'm here and see. I haven't tried this because, like I said, I rarely ever tilt the table. Well, you'd be limited. I can go that way, the 10 degrees that it allows, and this way I can go 10 degrees. Could possibly cut this short. In fact, that doesn't need to be sitting out there that far. And what I could do is put an elbow on there, and if I did, I could probably get another, maybe as much as 30 degrees. So if you tilt your table a lot, you may have to figure out a better system as far as that goes, but if you're just using it for perpendicular cutting, it does a fantastic job. And that's a small price to pay, that little bit of dust on the top. All right, we'll go upstairs and we'll go through the process real quick. I'm making one of these just to show you. These are some questions here. A piece of 1.5 inch plastic pipe. I'm going to cut this about 8 inches. This is to fit that poitra. Now, go over to the bandsaw. I meant to say drill press, not bandsaw. I'm using a 3/8, an inch and 3/8 fish bit, also called a Forstner. And you really have to clamp this stuff in place tightly because it has a tendency to react violently when that cuts through. I've got it so that I'm cutting right on the top. I'm going to cut just a little bit to one side of center. And I'll squeeze this between a couple of pieces of wood. This may look silly, but I've had it happen before where it jumps. Now I want to hold it down as well. I'll take this one off. In there, and this can hold both. Just need to drill through the top side. Now I'll meet you over at the bandsaw. So this is going to be positioned like that, so we need to have allowance right here for the blade. So turn it like so. Now it's round, so anytime you're turning around stock, you got to make sure that it doesn't grab and twist it. So hold it securely. I'll go to the midpoint. I'm going to make it just a little bit wider than one blade width. Didn't quite make it to the middle. Now, I'll put the end cap. I don't even think it needs to be glued. Now, in my case, if you look under here again, you can see what we did. Took a piece of pine and cut it that same diameter that that round casting was. Obviously, cut a slot in the middle. Cut a, and you don't need to go. Didn't need to be fancy like that. That could have simply been. That could have just as easily been screwed through there up into that piece of pine, but I cut out the shape of it so that we could hold it up in place. And then I use a double-sided tape in order to hold that in, and it works fine. What I think I may do is put an elbow on here just so that that's not always bearing down on there and most likely to fall out. And I also want to see if I can find an adapter that the end of that vacuum will fit right into instead of having to use that rubber sleeve with the duct tape on it. Anyway, that's all there is to it. Just, like I said, high velocity. It does the best job of pulling away that fine dust, and you're not having to try to pull from such a huge area that in most cases, that's how bandsaws have their dust collecting set up. I found this to be far more effective. Anyway, hope that helps. See ya.